News with Mitsumi Takahashi.
Good evening. Even people who are used to seeing accident sites say this one was a bad one. The driver of the vehicle was trying to evade police in Laval. He was going very fast, lost control, smashed into the side of a building. The collision was extremely violent. 2 people are dead, a third in critical condition, all of them just 19 years old. Here's Matt Gilmore.
People in this busy commercial sector of Laval are trying to process the terrible aftermath of a high-speed crash.
It's devastating. What could we say? Like, you look at that and it's not worth it, you know what I mean? It's really not worth it when you look at it like that.
At around 1:20 in the morning, Laval police attempted to stop a vehicle without a license plate. The driver allegedly sped off, but officers did not chase after him.
The officers themselves decided and judged that for their safety and the safety of the population, it wasn't a good idea to pursue this vehicle.
They discovered the crash scene 2 kilometers further down the road. Even at 1 o'clock in the morning, police say this is one of the busiest intersections in all of Laval, Saint-Martin and Laurentian Boulevard. And police say while the vehicle was fleeing, it came through this intersection at excessive speed before losing control. Skid marks on the road show the car likely veered toward the sidewalk, hopped the curb, and went careening into a gym. The car was split in half. Pieces of the wreckage scattered all over both sides of the boulevard.
There were 3 young adults inside the vehicle. The driver was found and was declared deceased on scene. The 2 passengers were taken to the hospital.
Both passengers were 19 years old, 1 male and 1 female. The female passenger died in hospital. The male is fighting for his life.
Speed is one of the highest reason for deadly collisions. It's really concerning when you see a big accident like this in a neighborhood. Maybe if it was at another time in the day, there would have been more injuries or more death.
Investigators are still reviewing the evidence, including speaking with the many witnesses who were on the scene, trying to understand what caused this devastating crash. Matt Gilmore, CTV News.
The owners of a farm in Hudson are out more than $20,000. They got caught in a scam that involved what looked like a large catering order and a credit card that at first seemed to go through. Denise Roberts has more.
Alana Cosgrove is new to the farming business and all that it entails. But working alongside husband Matt Penny, she says it's a labor of love.
We said, hey, let's go for it, and it would be a wonderful way to raise our kids.
Pengrove Farms in Hudson includes a farm shop where they sell locally produced, high-quality meats and other products. In April, they received an order from an alleged catering company for a large order of meat.
When the credit card went through, it didn't flag us as being, suspicious, even though it was a large order.
The farm fulfilled 2 orders totaling $20,000, processed online through their point-of-sale terminal, Square. But in May, they found out from Square the charges were fraudulent.
So they were advising us that all these charges that they had approved were now fraudulent charges that the original cardholder was disputing.
And Pengrove Farms was on the hook. The couple says Square gave them 48 hours to pay them back.
They started coming after us for immediate seizures of the entire funds of the order.
They have seized a substantial amount of money that they are holding until we agree to terms of payment.
But it's more than the couple say they can afford. Their insurance won't cover the cost, so they set up a GoFundMe. Their story sparked a lot of local support, and they say they've heard from other businesses who have also been a victim to this scam.
These processing companies don't protect small businesses.
Square says it cannot comment on this specific case, but that fraudsters exploiting small businesses is a serious problem and causes real harm. When a seller has been a victim of buyer fraud, we work with them directly, case by case. The couple say they want to see policy changes to protect small businesses from these scams. They're also making some changes in their shop.
Well, for right now, we're not taking any cards at all. We only take cash and e-transfer.
A costly lesson to learn. Denise Roberts, CTV News.
The Montreal meal kit company Good Food has filed for bankruptcy protection. The company is carrying more than $35 million in debt, and its CEO has resigned after less than 6 months on the job. Good Food says customers can still place orders as it plans to continue operating while it restructures. The company operates in Montreal, Calgary, and Mississauga. Last year, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency suspended Good Food's license for 9 days because of food safety violations. People who work in mental health want to make sure their concerns are not forgotten during the upcoming election campaign. In fact, they want to make sure mental health gets a seat in the next government. Laurence Brisson-Debreuil reports.
A new mental health roadmap is now online, created by a group of experts. One of their main recommendations is appointing a minister responsible for mental health. Psychiatrist Dr. Leon Turian says the goal is to fix a system he calls fragmented.
It's really promoting for a bit more coherence in the organization of healthcare and having something a bit more accountable and accessible to the population across our province.
The group also wants better support for healthcare workers, saying mental health challenges have driven record levels of absenteeism across the network. Torian says that solutions need to be permanent.
That actually survives the cycles of election, which we experience every 4 years, and everything changes. That doesn't help the system. That doesn't help the people that are working in the system.
The platform also tackles another growing crisis, homelessness. Its message is to prevent people from falling through the cracks before they lose their housing. At Old Brewery Mission, James Hughes says rent protection has to be part of the solution.
These go in parallel. We have to control increases in rents because otherwise we're going to continue to see increases in homelessness.
He's also calling for more social housing, saying the province should aim for 20% of the rental market.
Because if you're in social housing, you'll never be rent evicted. And that's one of the big drivers of homelessness.
Of the approximate 12,000 people currently unhoused in Quebec, 2/3 live with a mental health condition. Psychiatrist Dr. Oliver Farmer says investing earlier can prevent both human suffering and reduce costs.
When they are homeless, that's when they start costing $75,000 in police interventions and being brought to the hospital, and their health and their self-esteem deteriorating.
With the provincial election campaign set to begin later this month, these experts say they'll be watching to see which parties turn their recommendations into commitments. Laurence Brisson-Debreuil, CTV News.
Jewish students at McGill have been given court approval to go ahead with their class action suit. The students are suing McGill. They claim the university didn't do enough to protect them from the harassment, intimidation, and assault they say they suffered during the pro-Palestinian encampment and protests 2 years ago. They're asking that McGill reimburse 1/3 of the students' tuition and study fees since October of 2023 and to pay $5 million in punitive damages. The suit is backed by B'nai B'rith.
Students were really struggling. And McGill is, you know, if you grew up in Montreal, most of us went to McGill, and it was the most open, wonderful place to go. And then it turned into the place where kids are scared to go to class because they're scared of being harassed and we had so much video of the police going on the campus and kids trying to get into class and they can't even get to class. And so that was all part of it.
McGill, for its part, says many of the protesters were not students at the university and therefore not subject to school disciplinary policies. All allegations are yet to be proven in court. The 3 people from Akwesasne are facing charges in connection with an international drug smuggling ring. Officials in the U.S. are alleging that illegal drugs were being exchanged for firearms through Akwesasne. The Hudson-Oka Ferry is finally back in service. The ferry hadn't been operating since the start of the season because of mechanical and administrative problems. Well, now there is one boat in service from 10 in the morning to 7 p.m. This follows talks between the ferry operator and Transport Canada. The route is used by tourists and by people wanting to save time on their commute.
About time. It's about time because it's a long way around it. Save time. It's 1 hour and 15 minutes. The way I came to go over there. But with the ferry, it's 15 minutes. Yeah. It's good.
And the owner says the new mechanical upgrades to the ferry will make the crossings a little faster than that. The former head of the Chamber of Commerce of Greater Montreal made it official today. Michel Leblanc will run for the Quebec Liberal Party in the next election. Leblanc is an economist. He will run in the Montreal riding of Marguerite Bourgeois, which is considered a Liberal stronghold. Last year, Leblanc was rumored to be considering a run to be mayor of Montreal, and there had been at the time also speculation that he might run for the Quebec Liberals.
Worked for different entities in the past, and some of them, as I mentioned with Monique Jérôme-Forget, was an institute for research on public policy. So I have a framework of analysis, and I think that's important when we look at the economy right now. So I think I can bring things to the table, and I will add locally, this is my hood. This is the area where I am.
The PQ candidate in Marguerite Bourgeois is Luc Côté. He is a former public relations officer for the City of Montreal. The election is October the 5th. And Montreal's Félix Auger-Aliassime has withdrawn from the National Bank Open at the IGA Stadium. He was supposed to play a second-round match at 7 tonight. Now, Lauren, it seems he's injured his back during practice.
Yeah, that's right. When we arrived here today, we thought the big story of the night would be obviously Felix playing his home court. At 5 o'clock, we heard a message on the microphone basically telling everyone that he had injured himself. And unfortunately, you know, he did speak to some media, and he said that on Monday evening he was training. He felt a pain in his back, and he thought he could power through it. He was remaining positive. You know, he felt good all year. However, today at 3 o'clock when he was practicing, he realized that it was not a good situation and he decided to drop out. So let's listen to what he had to say.
And I thought that day by day things would get better, but I tried to go on court today. As some of you saw, I tried to warm up, and then I basically couldn't serve really. So yeah, it was impossible for me to think about even competing.
And obviously we spoke to some fans who were disappointed. They were hoping to see him play tonight. Some mixed reactions. Some people were understanding it's part of the game. Others, you know, were here for the vibes, as they say. So let's take a listen to what these spectators had to say.
Fans were coming only to see him. They bought tickets last night knowing he's going to play today, so it sucked. But it's part of the game. 2
years ago he was from Paris, so he was tired. This year he came early. He was fresh, ready to go. So yeah, big disappointment, but looking forward to see other matches, I guess.
Yeah, we're a little disappointed, but we came a long way here, and we'll enjoy the match, whoever it is.
I don't know anything about that. I'm just here for the vibes and the snacks. So I hope he feels better.
We all hope he feels better, certainly. You know, the good news is that there is another match that is actually going to be played on the same court where he was expected to play. That is between Medvedev and, I excuse me if I butcher this last name here, Van de Zandschulp. I don't speak Dutch, but apparently these are two very important top players. So, you know, spectators will still get a nice show to watch or a performance, and we'll be here later on to talk to people and obviously have weather. That's all for now. Back to you.
Okay, thanks very much, Laura, and we will talk to you again a little later on. CF Montreal is inducting Lloyd Barker to its Wall of Fame.
Lloyd Barker se démarque bien, tente une passe.
Barker played in the team's first game when it was known as the Montreal Impact, and he helped the Impact win 3 consecutive regular season titles from 1995 to 1997. Barker will be inducted at the halftime ceremony during the match against the Galaxy at Saputo Stadium. That will be on August 22nd. And hockey season isn't far off. Tickets are now on sale for the 2 preseason games at the Bell Centre. The Habs will play the Maple Leafs on Saturday, September 19th, and the Ottawa Senators on the 26th. The Habs' season opener is in Toronto on September 29th, and their home opener will be October 6th against the Carolina Hurricanes. And coming up, he was a national news icon.
So that's the kind of day it's been on this.
Canadians remember Lloyd Robertson. And protecting the president. Police make an arrest in Southern California. Former CTV News chief anchor and veteran broadcaster Lloyd Robertson has died. He was 92 years old. Robertson was the longest-serving news anchor in North America, and he anchored the CTV National News for 35 years. Here's Geneviève Beauchemin.
So that's the kind of day it's been on this.
On the day he signed off for the last time, Lloyd Robertson joked he was about to be yesterday's news.
We made it, Harvey.
Reaction to his passing, though, has proven his legacy to be a front-page story.
I think people trusted him. I think he was a really special journalist.
I'm Lloyd Robertson. We'll see how the world came to Canada.
His authoritative voice was a landmark of the Canadian broadcast landscape for over 6 decades.
He was a true gentleman, a real newsman. He loved scoops.
The boy from Stratford, Ontario, who worked at the local radio station, eventually knocked on the CBC's door.
I was hired by the CBC. My voice got me through.
We interrupt this program. He said he fully understood his role in 1963 with the Kennedy assassination.
I felt that I was now involved in something that really mattered to people. Television news.
Good evening.
Robertson worked his way to the CBC's flagship news show, The National.
When I did my first news special as a reporter with Lloyd in 1970, he took a lot of time and trouble ensuring that I was comfortable in doing what I was doing.
Robertson is leaving the CBC after 22 years.
He signed on to CTV in 1976. Former Prime Minister Jean Chrétien said today that Robertson had a rare talent, explaining complicated events to Canadians.
Tonight, face-to-face with...
He retired from the evening news in 2011 and proved in 2018 that you can't take the news out of a news anchor.
And I was able to walk away from this.
That's him reporting live on his own car accident.
He had no ego. He was first class. Everyone loved being around him. And he just really made everyone feel special.
But Robertson often said the greatest honor of his life was to chronicle the times, the events that marked Canada and the world for so long.
And that's the kind of day it's been.
Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News.
In British Columbia, conditions are dry. There are fears lightning storms could spark new wildfires. More than 7,000 properties are sitting empty in the evacuation zones. And now the thick smoke has made its way to Vancouver. Andrew Johnson reports.
The smoke is thickest behind me on Vancouver's North Shore and to the east into the Fraser Valley. There have been new air quality warnings issued today as much more surreal and dangerous scenes play out in the BC interior. Retired firefighter Jeff Moore was forced to watch from the water as his lakeside Okanagan cabin burned to the ground.
It was a nut show in there. There was bombs going off everywhere, people having a lot of propane, vehicles exploding, all sorts of things. It was just a crazy time.
After trying to first save the home, Moore made his escape in a boat. Watching the flames he spent his career fighting do their worst. The cabin is one of more than 200 homes believed to have been destroyed by the Bradley Creek fire near Vernon. Another belonged to Kevin Statham, who says he barely escaped a 12-meter wall of flame.
We lost everything. It's gone. It was my dad's house. It wasn't just mine. It's bad.
More than 100 buildings have also been destroyed, a couple of 100 kilometers to the northwest near Clinton. Around the province, more than 11,000 properties are either evacuated or on alert.
Never seen fuel dryness the way we are seeing it right now. And then when you put 85 to 100 kilometer winds on top of that, it is an explosive and extremely dangerous situation in BC.
Dangerous not only for people living in the affected communities. Yesterday, a helicopter being used to fight one of the more than 100 fires in the province crashed into a lake. Fortunately, the pilot survived and was sent to the hospital with minor injuries. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
Federal authorities are taking no chances in their protection of Donald Trump. A man has been arrested. He's accused of acting suspiciously near the location of a fundraiser that's to be attended by Trump. Jacqueline Lee has more from Los Angeles.
The search for a motive continues after a man was arrested for allegedly surveilling President Trump's security and was allegedly armed with firearms and ammunition. Authorities charged 38-year-old Janine John Taylor with possession of an unregistered short-barreled rifle. First Assistant U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley saying in a statement, quote, "While we are still investigating the motives of this individual, we are thankful he was apprehended before the president's visit." Federal officials say in the days before President Trump's golf fundraiser in Rancho Palos Verdes, Taylor visited twice. According to the LA County Sheriff's Department, federal agents noticed Taylor was surveilling security and taking photos and videos of the venue. On his second visit, federal agents say he told them that he worked for the State Department and was there for security detail. After officers detained Taylor, they say they found a loaded pistol, ammunition, an illegally modified AR-style rifle, body armor, radio signal devices, and multiple notebooks described as having concerning statements.
He was not known to the Secret Service, and it didn't seem at this point that he had raised any suspicions up with even local law enforcement.
FBI officials in Los Angeles saying in a statement that given the previous attempts on President Trump's life, there is, quote, "no room for error."
The threat environment right now is higher than we've ever seen before. Part of that is because of the foreign actors, the rise in mental health cases, the use of social media and the internet that's never been used like this before.
If Taylor is found guilty of the firearm offense, it is a felony that carries a 10-year prison sentence. Jacqueline Lee, ABC News, Los Angeles.
The president of Ukraine says Russia is deliberately targeting civilians, and he's calling on allies to send more ammunition. Missile and drone strikes in Kyiv overnight killed at least 17 people. Ukraine says the strikes hit warehouses and infrastructure that have nothing to do with the war. Russia claims it was targeting centers involved in military activity. And coming up, it was a very expensive surprise.
Nothing indicated that it was in U.S. dollars. Nothing at all.
And that's even for Canadians traveling in Canada. And a warning about a new social media trend that involves weight loss drugs. There's a new social media trend that can pose a serious medical risk. People are being told to microdose on GLP-1 medications like Ozempic. Dr. Christopher Lapos joins us. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Mitch.
Okay, so what is this trend? How are people microdosing these GLP-1 medications?
Well, so basically what they're doing is they're messing with the pen. So these medications, if you've never seen them, they are administered via a self-filled pen that you sort of inject into yourself. And so the way you load the pen is you have to turn a little knob and it makes some clicks, and that's how you sort of set the dose. And so people are doing what they're calling it is like counting the clicks, basically. So rather than turning it the full way, they're turning it partially to give themselves a lower dose of Ozempic for a variety of reasons, either to space it out more or just to purposely give themselves a lower dose. I guess with the idea being that they're trying to sort of self-adjust their medications. It's sort of the equivalent of people cutting their pills in half and taking less than they should.
Okay, so this idea is hugely popular, especially on social media, but why? What do they think is the benefit of doing this?
Well, yeah, it's an interesting thing because this idea of microdosing, of taking small amounts of a prescribed dose over a period of days, sort of stretching out what the dose should be. I guess the idea is that you're going to minimize side effects by doing this, or you're giving yourself just a little bit of the medicine's benefit without all the side effects. I guess with the idea specifically with Ozempic and the GLP-1 medications is people are taking it for weight loss. They may not qualify for Ozempic technically. They may not have a lot of weight to lose, but they want to lose 5 to 10 pounds, and they think that by taking a smaller dose of the medication, they'll achieve that without the side effects. It's not quite speaking true, but that's sort of the thinking that goes into it.
And people are taking risks doing this?
Well, right, because you don't know what the effects are going to be on your body. I mean, there is a reason why we study medications at a specific dose. So the minute you start messing with that schedule, negative things can happen. First of all, if you think that you're going to avoid the side effects by taking a smaller dose of the GLP-1 medications, you won't. The people who get side effects get it usually right at the beginning, even when you start at the smaller doses. There are things that we can do to minimize that by slowly escalating the doses, but you're not going to escape the side effects of a medication depending on what those side effects are. So I think people are a little bit, too clever by half when they're sort of trying this strategy.
But taking smaller doses can work for some people, right? There are people called super responders?
Right, and there certainly are. And this is different than your doctor adjusting your medication. So if we take the way these medications are usually prescribed, if we take Ozempic, semaglutide, Wegovy for weight loss, you always start at a smaller dose. You start at the smallest dose, which is 0.5 milligrams, and then you escalate that over the course of several weeks. So you take a few weeks of 0.5 milligrams, then you go up to 1, and then 1.5 and 2, and you try to get up to the target dose of 2.4 milligrams, which is what you use for weight loss. And if you find that you've achieved a very good result at a lower dose and the patient is feeling well, you can stop at that dose. Or if the patient is having a lot of side effects, you can come down. Right? Microdosing is not the same as adjusting the dose of the medication. We always adjust the doses of medications. Microdosing is basically people taking this into their own hands and sort of deciding their medication dose on their own, which is always a little bit of a recipe for disaster.
And even under doctor supervision, we don't know if doing this will offer the additional benefits, for example, the cardiovascular benefits.
Yeah, because that's the big question. Remember, the reason why we prescribe these medications and the reasons why we are so bullish about these medications, or at least some of us are, is not about the weight loss. I mean, weight loss is great. But the idea behind these medications and why we have to look at them as treatments for a chronic disease is that they prevent heart attacks. They prevent cardiovascular events, and they probably have a lot of other ancillary benefits that we're going to see over the course of time in terms of sleep apnea, in terms of cancer risk, all of that. So we're trying to prevent cardiovascular events, and we know the doses at which these medications were studied. We know the protocols that were proven to be effective. The minute you start messing with the protocol, are you still going to achieve the same benefits? That's somewhat unclear. You might, but you also might not. So people have to understand that they are basically taking a well-proven medication, but using it in an unproven way. And I think that's the point here. There's a reason why we study things the way we do. And when you have something that works, it's unclear why you would mess with it unless you have a specific medical reason to do that.
Okay. Thank you very much for this, Chris.
My pleasure. Take care.
Weather brought to you by Gratian Scaff's 50th anniversary gift event. Get a complete second pair and sunglasses as a gift.
Well, we are here outside of the IGA Stadium for the National Bank tournament, and it is definitely a hot day. So the heat, the humidity, and the plentiful sunshine dominated our weather forecast today. Montrealers are not complaining because in a few months we will be dealing with the colder weather. Now, in terms of our temperatures, we did see a high today that was above normal of 30 degrees, but with that humidity, it felt like 35, and it's going to be even hotter tomorrow. This time of year, we typically are around 26. Here's what we're forecasting overnight, our 7 to 7 night planner. We'll start to see some clouds roll in later this evening and a low of 21 degrees. This is on the warmer side. Now, to give you some context, typically this time of the year, we would see a low around 15. So it's one of those nights where I advise you to maybe not sleep with a thick blanket, have a nice little breeze going, have a fan or air conditioning if you have that at your disposal. Tomorrow in the morning, we do start off with a mix of sun and clouds. Now, earlier today, like maybe an hour ago, it was showing that we had some showers around 9 a.m., but it looks like now around 11 and then later in the day as well. And there is also a risk of thunderstorms. This weather model is not showing it, but when we pull up our futurecast, we do see that there is red on the screen. That usually indicates the chance of a thunderstorm, and we can see it around 11 a.m. Around 2, that system has pushed, but not for long, because once again, 4 o'clock, we do have a chance of those showers and a risk of thunderstorms. So it's only a 30% chance at this time. And once again, it is going to be warmer this evening and even warmer tomorrow. We're looking at a daytime high of 29, feeling like 38. So that humidity is going to make it a lot hotter tomorrow. Friday, we're holding on to 29 degrees. Calling for around 3 millimeters of rain later in the day, and that 29 will feel like 38. Saturday at this time, we still are under a risk of thunderstorms. We could see 7 millimeters of rain, a high of 28 degrees, but again, that humidex making it feel like 37. Sunday, we get a little bit of relief from the humidity. It'll feel like 32 with a high of 28, and we could also see 1 millimeter of rain later in the day. Monday, once again, late day showers, 3 millimeters. It'll feel like 31. Tuesday, we're anticipating around 2 millimeters of rain, a high of 26, feeling like 32. Next Wednesday, lots of sunshine in the forecast, a high of 25, and the humidity won't be too significant. It'll feel like 28.
On tonight's Lotto 649 draw, you could win $42 million. Good luck.
There is a reminder to check the currency when booking flights, renting cars, reserving hotel rooms online. Some people are finding out the hard way. Here's Pat Foran.
Nothing indicated that it was in US dollars. Nothing at all.
Elizabeth Haddock of Orangeville planned a trip with her friends to Picton and needed a hotel room for 2 nights. She started her search on Trivago, which took her to the website super.com. She booked a room and thought she was paying in Canadian funds.
It wasn't until I got my credit card bill.
Haddock says instead of being charged $430 Canadian, it was $430 US, so the total jumped to $610.
Why would I want to see a US price?
In a statement, Trivago said Trivago is not involved in the booking or payment process. The site that completed the reservation is best placed to investigate the charge. When Haddock reached out to super.com, she was offered a $43 credit, which she declined.
Normally, when you book anything online, I always get the price I expect.
Suraj Guganya Vaughn needed a rental vehicle for a trip to Vancouver. He booked with Next Car Rental, which stated on its website transactions were in Canadian dollars. But if you prepay for a rental, it's in U.S. funds. Guganya felt that was misleading.
It seemed like Canadian to me because it had the Canadian taxes and everything. And then later on, when I look at my credit card statement, I see that it was charged in USDs.
Instead of paying $420 Canadian, it was $420 US, which made the charge $611. After we contacted Next Car Rental, the company said it made some changes to its website, saying we removed the line about all transactions being in Canadian dollars. All prepaid reservations booked on nextcarrental.com are in US dollars and always have been.
The best websites will make it very clear.
Travel experts say the best advice is to check websites carefully before finalizing transactions.
On the final page, I want to see if it's in CAD or USD, and if it doesn't say, I go back a page and double check personally.
In Guganya's case, Next Car Rental refunded the difference. As for Haddock, she feels she deserves money back too.
I want the difference to be refunded to my credit card.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
The new Gordie Howe International Bridge is now open to pedestrians and cyclists, and they were lined up this morning waiting to be among the first to cross it. The pedestrian pathway opened at 8 this morning. People can walk across free of charge. It takes about 45 minutes, and anyone walking or cycling across must have the required documents such as a passport. And coming up, it is a little-known complication.
Delirium is the most important cause of hospital-acquired harm for Canadians.
And now researchers are turning to AI for help. And archaeology is going public and gaining a wider audience.
Your Health, brought to you by Gratianscap's 50th anniversary gift event. Get a complete second pair and sunglasses as a gift.
Studies show about 1/4 of adults suffer from delirium at some point during a hospital stay, but AI could soon help to try to prevent that. Here's Pauline Chan.
Dr. Amol Verma's interest in delirium sprang from his grandmother's experiences during leg surgery.
And that was really striking for us because she was someone who was so mentally sharp and always very bright. And, you know, she was suddenly disoriented. She was talking about a wedding that wasn't happening.
Dr. Fahad Razak says delirium is extremely common, affecting 20 to 30% of all Canadians hospitalized for any range of conditions.
People are extremely confused. They may be very somnolent, so barely responsive. Other patients can be very agitated. They can not recognize family members or friends. They can have trouble eating or drinking. It is so serious that once you develop delirium, the chance of dying in hospital during that admission doubles.
And even if you recover, your chances of your brain sustaining permanent damage, requiring you to move into long-term care, for example, more than doubles. That's what prompted Unity Health to look at ways to identify high-risk candidates for delirium.
You can do it with very high precision, but it's very labor-intensive. So, for example, there's been a method that's developed that takes about 30 minutes to 2 hours per medical chart.
Not very practical, but an an AI program developed by Unity Health using just 10 key factors is proving helpful. Harry Ennis's partner Bruce went through heart surgery last year.
I asked him sort of key dates, like when's your birthday, when's my birthday, and he didn't know them.
Ennis says the key is early identification of vulnerable patients.
You can reduce the chance of delirium occurring by as much as 40%.
You need to know about it before it happens, like before the surgery, so that you can monitor if it's happening. You can put in strategies to minimize it and keep the patient safe.
Things like being able to eat well, being able to stay hydrated, being able to get up and move and be physically active.
In Canada especially, we have a problem with recognizing it because many patients who are admitted to hospital don't speak English, and the fact that they are confused sometimes is not easily apparent to a healthcare worker.
The delirium risk calculator is currently being tested in several Ontario hospitals, and it will expand to 13 hospitals in October.
Delirium is the most important cause of hospital-acquired harm for Canadians, full stop.
Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Business news brought to you by Au Vieux de Louf. Generous and delicious plates all the time.
Shares for Shopify spiked today after the company shared its earnings. Morella Fernandez has more on that.
Analysts say Shopify had monster growth in its latest quarter. The shares ended the day up over 15% after the release of earnings. Shopify reported about $3.6 billion U.S. in revenue, 34% better year over year. Shopify provides businesses with an online platform and takes a cut of sales. The Ottawa-based firm says customer traffic and orders driven by AI tripled in its latest quarter. Suncor also reported earnings. The oil giant had net earnings of $3.7 billion, more than $1.5 billion better year over year. Higher oil prices resulting from the Middle East conflict helped Suncor to beat estimates. Thomson Reuters reported earnings as well. The Canadian content and technology company says revenue for its latest quarter came in at just under $2 billion U.S. The CEO says the company's focusing on developing AI applications for its legal, accounting, and audit businesses. Still, shares sank, with investors worried that AI will replace, not help, their business. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar's up to 71.37 U.S. West Texas Intermediate is down to 75.22 U.S. a barrel. Western Canadian Select is down over $7 to 59.29. And the TSX shot up 344 points today to a record close above 36,000 points. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morella Fernandez.
In the Gatineau area, it is literally the summer of discovery. Amateur archaeologists are digging up centuries of local history. Camille Wilson reports.
Jacqueline Pillsbury was not supposed to be here.
I was supposed to be in the Azores.
A canceled flight, Pillsbury made the last-minute decision to drive from her home in New Jersey to Ottawa for a vacation. Here, she met some new friends who had an idea.
I met Monica and Bill yesterday at Colonel By Day, and they told me about the Public Archaeology Day, and I was so excited because I love to dig.
The National Capital Commission is holding its Public Archaeology Digs for people to get a hands-on experience uncovering Indigenous artifacts, like Lise Desmarais, who found items from an earlier age.
Some kind of a button, a bottle cap, like an old one, and some rocks that may be. This one looks like a quartz.
The digs will take place at Limy Lake Park and at Philippe Lake in Gatineau, guided by real archaeologists.
We identified a new site in 2023 before they did work to rehabilitate the Lac Philippe campground. And now we're back to try and learn more about the site, figure out what Indigenous people were doing here, maybe how long ago the site was occupied, and see what we can find.
It's interesting, and they explain to us what we have to do, and they show us the discovery.
The NCC says there may be evidence of Indigenous settlements with arrowheads and pottery, and to find out exactly when people lived here.
This dirt is so nice and soft. Look at this. You scrape. It's not rocky.
The kicker? Pillsbury is already an archaeologist.
I dig in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. I dug in Israel, and I just do this for fun because I enjoy it.
13-year-old Octavia loves history and wants to go into archaeology and anthropology.
You can connect with something you didn't even know was there.
Participants are encouraged to come prepared with wearing long pants, a hat, gloves, and closed-toe shoes. This time, Pillsbury didn't come ready with her trowels, but there's always a next time.
I'm hoping to come back again next year and do this again, plan my vacation around it instead of happenstance.
The public archaeology digs runs until August 30th. Camille Wilson, CTV News.
Some 70,000 people are gathered at the foot of Mount Royal tonight. It is the Metropolitan Orchestra's free concert they're performing tonight. It's to help celebrate the 150th anniversary of the park. The concert features several guests, including a children's choir. Conductor Yannick Nezet-Seguin says the program is for all Montrealers.
There's something very different, and now when we bring these pieces now as interpreters to the people and feel like they're moved by it, it's just the message of the music that's so powerful. And I will add that in times where everything's so dark and so scary, and you know what's happening to the earth and what's happening with the wars and all of the unrest, moments where several tens of thousands of people can enjoy one note of an instrument and a collective of an orchestra. I think it's inspiring. I hope that people, they regain some joy and they regain some hope when they actually hear this.
The music begins at 7:30 on the Park Avenue side of Mount Royal. McGill researchers have been studying the recent shooting in Côte-des-Neiges where a police officer and a civilian were killed. And Caroline, they were specifically looking at gender.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Researchers are looking at how online discourse after 3 recent shootings, including the one on June 22nd in Montreal, have been disproportionately concentrated on gender rather than the actual acts of violence that took place. And their study found that online posts about a female officer's involvement in the shooting in Côte-des-Neiges far outweighed posts about other subjects. So we're going to hear from one of the researchers about that a little bit more on our Late Show. And we're also going to attend that concert that you just mentioned at the foot of Mount Royal and bring you some of the beautiful music and the mood on what's probably a perfect summer night in Montreal tonight. That's all at 11:30 tonight. Mitsui.
Thanks very much, Caroline. And coming up, it is clearly the month of July.
Good job!
Happy birthday!
But then when you love Halloween, why not?
Download the CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
Increasing number of abandoned buildings.
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. CTVMontreal.ca, your home for news.
Neighbors and friends got together to give a young boy a very special birthday. Here's Danny New.
Stand back.
You might not expect to go trick-or-treating when there are still 4th of July decorations up.
Happy birthday! Happy birthday!
But it's also not every day that Soren turns 11.
He was so happy. I mean, he was on a mission.
A few weeks ago, this neighborhood in Alabama came together to help Soren enjoy one of his favorite activities on his special day, with 83 different families volunteering.
But we didn't get to them all. We got to 70 houses.
I was going to say, it was going to get tired at some point. It was a long day.
He wasn't tired.
His mom, Leah, says this took months of planning and coordinating.
There you go, Kate. Good job!
Happy birthday!
She first got the idea because Soren, who has autism, just loves trick-or-treating and would often put on one of his costumes, grab a bucket, and then
We would say, okay, time to trick or treat. And he would be repeating that over and over.
But what Leah did not expect was for so many of her neighbors to immediately respond to her Facebook post on the community page, and that none of them would take her up on her offer to provide the candy herself.
We got you a whole bag here.
Oh my gosh. Thanks, guys.
Instead, many families surprised Soren with not only his favorite candy, but also Lego sets and Play-Doh. Not to mention, many of the homes were decorated with happy birthday signs.
We severely underestimated how many bags we needed.
But maybe the best part was that Soren got to meet so many of the other kids in the community, and now neighbors are coming up to him all the time.
The other day we went to the pool and like 4 or 5 people were trying to talk to him about his birthday. My overwhelming feeling was really just like relief because I know he's safe here.
By the way, Leah said that many of those kids who opened the door have now told their parents that they want to go trick-or-treating this Halloween with Soren. In New York, for ABC News, I'm Daniel Neal.
And it looks like a beautiful evening.
Definitely beautiful. The sun is still shining. It is hot though. We hit a daytime high of 30 and it feels like 35. Now we will see a little bit of relief, but it's still going to be a warm night. We're going down to 21 degrees overnight, and once again, typically we'd be around 15. We're looking at partly cloudy skies. In the morning, we do start the day with a mix of sun and clouds, a wake-up temperature of 22 degrees. We hold on to a mix of sun and clouds, but there is a chance of showers with the risk of thunder showers later in the day. We'll hit a daytime high of 29, but that humidity will make it feel like 38. And looking at a little bit of our longer range forecast, mostly cloudy skies for Friday, so not getting too much sunshine, so hopefully our viewers were able to get out and enjoy today. We could also see some showers late day on Friday, around 3 millimeters. It'll be 29, once again feeling like 38. Risk of thunderstorms and 7 millimeters of rain for Saturday, 28 degrees, feeling like 37. Sunday, a mix of sun and clouds, but once again, a small chance of some showers. And on Monday, we'll see sun and clouds, a high of 27, but it will feel like 31. And
that's it for us. Have a good evening. Stay well. Good night.